With an average passenger rating of 2.8 out of 10, SpiceJet is often considered as one of the worst airlines in India. But how bad is it really? Well, if you follow this channel, you know that I love to try sketchy airlines. So let's fly SpiceJet. Today's journey starts in New Delhi, the capital of India. Maybe you remember from my last video that I came to India on a mission to find a good barber. After not having found one in Mumbai or Delhi, I've got a tip that India's best barber might be hiding in Jaipur, I don't know what's the right way to pronounce it, but what better way to get there than on SpiceJet. Operated on a Bombardier Dash 8, the flight over to Jaipur takes only an hour and costs less than a plate of Indian food in my home country, baggage included. So I guess I can already debunk the first point of criticism, which is that SpiceJet is expensive. Maybe that's the case on some different routes, but on this one, SpiceJet was the second cheapest, just after IndiGo, which I have tried already. We would like to drop our bags. We checked in online already. Two.
By chance, you have any Indian contact number?
Indian number, no.
Just give me your one.
Okay, +41. Yes.
These are your boarding passes. Please cross-check your names. The plate number is not mentioned here, so do check in the display once you locate the temporary. Boarding time is 7:25. Flight is on time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. So today it's time to try SpiceJet, which could be a bit of a controversial video. However, I know very well that it's not easy to judge an airline based on a single flight, and everyone's experience differs. But with this trip report, I'm simply showing you my journey. Because the thing is, when I like an airline, people in the comments get mad because they say I'm spreading misinformation or I'm sponsored by the airline. And when I don't like an airline, they get salty for talking bad about their favorite carrier. So, to not have this issue anymore, I decided to not give a shit and just share my unbiased experience. So, if you're not okay with that, please feel free to f off. So just past the security, it was a hassle like always. But now we're going to the lounge since we still have some time until the departure.
Much later.
After some time at the Priority Pass lounge, it's time to go to the gate. Another frequent complaint many have about SpiceJet is that they apparently are always late. And indeed, a case study from last October reveals that 50 to 60% of all SpiceJet flights are facing delays. Just for comparison, on other airlines from India like IndiGo, Akasa and Vistara, the percentage of delays is reported about 1.5 to 5% of all flight operations. I'm not sure how reliable these numbers are, but I will link my sources in the video description. But if you want to get somewhere on time, SpiceJet is probably not the way to go. On one hand, I think there is not much to be complained about, and when the tickets are so unbelievably cheap, you can't really expect much. But on the other hand, IndiGo would be even cheaper on this route and at the same time have a way better punctuality and safety record. Was ist passiert?
Nichts.
Was passiert?
Der Flugzeug ist spät.
Ja, das Flugzeug, aber ja. Not surprisingly, today's flight is also late. Arriving at the gate, no delay is indicated, and well past boarding time, there is still no information on what is going on.
Much later.
Naive as I am, I try to wait in line. But well, if you're ever in India, don't do that. Lines of all sorts are not really a thing here, so sometimes you have to kind of be a bit more secure about yourself, forget the things you have learned and just look for yourself, or you will be left behind. That's not meant to be disrespectful, but it is just something I have learned during my trips to India. I absolutely love India. I think it deserves a way better reputation and it is one of the most fascinating countries on earth. But here sometimes you just have to be a bit persistent.
जिस कुर्सी पर बैठ जाएं और साथ लाए सामान को ओवरहेड बिन में या सामने वाली कुर्सी के नीचे रखें।
Welcome on board. My first impression is actually better than expected. The cabin looks good considering the age of the plane. Actually, I like the Q400 a lot, and the last time I flew it is already a year ago when I took a trip from Ubon Ratchathani to Chiang Mai on board Nok Air. What's surprising on this flight is that the crew is very welcoming, professional and friendly. SpiceJet has just announced that they will lay off about 1,400 staff members due to financial difficulties, so I could absolutely understand if the crew was not really motivated. This, however, is not the case at all on this flight, as it seems. Yet, that does not change the fact that SpiceJet is in some serious troubles. The airline has generated a net loss for 5 years in a row, their reputation is everything but good, and the same goes for their safety records. There is no sugarcoating. SpiceJet is far from perfect, but at least on this flight I feel welcome. But feeling welcome does not mean that I want to stay here forever, and as we are still on the tarmac well over an hour after the scheduled departure time, I start to get a bit impatient.
Much later.
डिपार्चर की तैयारी के लिए अपनी कुर्सी की पेटी बांध लें, ट्रे टेबल बंद कर लें, कुर्सी सीधी रखें और विंडो शेड्स खुले रखें। टेक ऑफ के लिए मोबाइल फोन्स को पावर ऑफ या फ्लाइट मोड में कर लें और अन्य इलेक्ट्रॉनिक उपकरणों को बंद कर लें। आपकी जानकारी के लिए स्पाइसजेट फ्लाइट्स पर धूम्रपान और डोमेस्टिक फ्लाइट्स पर मदिरा पीना वर्जित है। DGCA के निर्देश अनुसार
takeoff and some minor turbulences that nearly made me wet my pants, we survived the first critical part of this flight and began our flight southeastwards to Jaipur. It will be our first time in Jaipur and I'm really excited to see what the city has to offer. Also known as the Pink City, Jaipur is much more than an Instagram filter. As the capital of Rajasthan and the 10th most populous city in all of India, Jaipur serves as a regional hub. It is full of evidence of the royal family that once ruled the region and boasts countless palaces with its gardens, courtyards and museums. After a week in Jaipur, the plan was to go to the south of India and visit states like Kerala or Tamil Nadu, since we have only been to the north so far. However, quite a few people in India advised me not to go to the south, since apparently it's rather dangerous for tourists and people are quite hostile towards foreign visitors. I find that difficult to believe and I couldn't find evidence on that online, so if you are from India, I would love to know whether you would recommend visiting the south or not. We're not really picky about our travel destinations and we have been to some quite, let's say, alternative destinations like Myanmar, Iran, Colombia or Albania. But not gonna lie, hearing stories like the absolutely horrible things that happened to that biker couple recently makes even us think twice. But I'm once again violently digressing from the topic of my video. So back to the flight. Dinner service just started, and if you have ever flown on a budget carrier, you probably know that food is not included in the price. SpiceJet is no exception, and since the flight is very short, no hot meals are available for purchase, except if you have pre-ordered online. We do, however, get served a complimentary cup of water, which, from an European point of view, is very generous. In general, I have the feeling that budget carriers in Asia are a lot more relaxed than in Europe. Things we don't have anymore on almost all European budget airlines, like free airport check-in, complimentary drinks and free hand luggage as well as checked-in luggage, is still quite common here as it seems. The same goes for the reclinable seat, which also isn't a thing on most other budget airlines I know of. While we're at it, let's have a closer look at the seat. As usual with the Bombardier Q400, the cabin comes in a 2-2 configuration and can accommodate up to 78 passengers. The 76 centimeters of legroom is actually above the usual for a budget carrier, especially if you consider that this plane operates only short-haul flights. All passengers have a tray table, and if you're lucky, you will find an in-flight magazine and a menu in the seat pocket below the table. As I have said already, the cabin does not look too bad at all at first glance. However, when the full cabin light is on, you can definitely see some wear and tear on the seats. Also, some proper cleaning would certainly not be wrong, depending on how long this bird will stay in service. The same also goes for the toilet, which is absolutely filthy and worn. And it reminds me a bit of a train toilet. I don't know how much shit has gone through here, but this should definitely be replaced. Back at my seat, we already started our descent into Jaipur, where one of the hardest landings of my life is waiting for me. I'm just realizing sometimes I say Jaipur and sometimes I say Jaipur. I really don't know because I have heard both a lot of times, and please somebody just tell me how I say it, how I have to say it correctly. But anyway, one of the things I love about the Dash 8 is the fact that you can see the propellers and the landing gear. Admittedly, I sometimes have the probably unreasonable fear that a plate of the propeller will fall off and slice me in half like a watermelon in Fruit Ninja, but I guess the view is worth that risk. As we are getting closer to the airport and diving under the clouds, some turbulence starts again, which really isn't that fun on a small plane. The reason for that might be the bad weather. Jaipur, I don't know, is located in a very dry and desert-like surrounding. Especially at this time of the year, there should literally be 0 rain days in Jaipur, but lucky as I am, it's pouring like crazy. On the video it might not look like much, but believe me, Ryanair is bother compared to that. After landing, they even check the landing gear, which I don't know if it's because of the super hard landing, but I strongly believe so.
मोबाइल फोन का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए सीट बेल्ट बंद होने तक अपनी कुर्सी पर बैठे रहिए और कुर्सी की बेल्ट बांधे रखिए। हिफाजत के साथ यात्रा कीजिए।
Unfortunately, we park at the remote gate, which means that we have to cross the tarmac by foot, which gives our shoes and socks a proper wash. Buses are already waiting for us, but somehow it takes quite a while until we are ready to go. In the end, we arrive very late at the terminal, and even our driver asks us if the flight is still alive. But better late than never, I guess. So the final question, how bad is SpiceJet really? Well, it depends. Considering the low price, the great crew and everything complimentary that was offered, this flight wasn't too bad. But due to their terrible punctuality and safety records, next time I will probably choose another carrier if possible. The first one that comes to my mind here is IndiGo. Click right here to watch my IndiGo trip report on our flight from Kenya to India. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.